All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the UCLA Anderson MBA session at the MBA Spotlight. My name is JJ, and I am your host. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Adrian and Sabrina, representatives from UCLA Anderson. And we'll begin with a brief overview of the full time MBA program at UCLA Anderson, as well as critical information that you would like to know to be successful in your applications. And after the brief presentation, we'll open the session up for Q&A and try as much as possible to take many questions. So to the right side of your screen, there are different icons. You see the icon for Q&A and the icon for chat. In the chat location, please let us know where you're dialing in from. And then in the Q&A section is where you put your questions. Again, chat for your current location and the Q&A for the questions pertaining to UCLA Anderson. Also, feel free to upvote any question that you have. The questions with the highest upvotes will get read out first in the interest of time. So I'll hand it over to Adrian now.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to our little session. Uh, um, as JJ said, as we're sharing our locations, Serena and I are obviously from Los Angeles. It's about 8:15, 8:18 in the morning for us, and I hope you're having a wonderful time. For those of you joining us from Asia or India or places like that, kudos to you for being up late. We truly appreciate it. So I am going to be giving you guys a short overview of our program. Normally, our sessions are longer in length and we can go into far more detail. So, this will be an abbreviated version, hopefully to pique your interest. Also, I'm not sure exactly where you all are in terms of your level of readiness for an MBA. Is there something that you're doing because you're applying now in the very short term, or in the future? So I'm going to try to find a sweet spot where I can give you guys a little bit of everything. I see a fellow Peruvian there, Michelle, I believe. I am from Peru myself as well. So welcome to you all. My name, as I said earlier, was Adrian. I'm joined by Sabrina. We're both admissions officers at the UCLA Anderson full-time MBA program. So that is the 2 year full-time MBA experience. We're not representing the other programs, although we might be able to offer you some highlights depending on what you're interested in seeing. So as I said earlier, we have an abbreviated agenda. I'm going to go rather quick through what we think, with some evidence, are the most interesting aspects for folks that are applying. We just did a survey of our applicants from the last cycle, and basically they all came back and told us that the things that they were more interested in when looking at an MBA program were the career resources and tools to pivot into different careers, the opportunity to network and connect with fellow classmates and other folks, and have this sort of leadership personal development experience. And lastly, the opportunity to access some of the academics and the resources of the schools to make that possible. So I'm going to talk about those three things relatively quickly, and then we're going to talk about highlights of the class stats. Hopefully, that will take us into about 15 minutes of this conversation. And then Sabrina and I will be all yours to answer as many questions as we can. So I'm going to be jumping ahead, hopefully relatively quickly. This is kind of a busy slide, but I will do my best to sort of explain it. So for us, one of the main things that you guys are looking for is the resources and the expertise to help you succeed in that career transition. That's one of the areas that we take a lot of pride in. Our Parker Career Management Center is a top ranked global career placement center or career center, ranked by Bloomberg and by The Economist as top in sort of in the market for student satisfaction. So you are definitely going to find sort of a best of breed resource in our career services when joining the MBA program. Part of what they're doing is really partnering with you, or I would say what they're doing is really partnering with you to help you during the 2 year experience, from the very moment you start the MBA to the moment that you graduate, through all the stages that you're going to need to develop to be successful, whether it is the planning phase where you are researching, well, first of all, conducting self assessments, understanding what you want to get into, what are the things that you're going to need to be successful in the process. We're going to help you research and understand the different industries, the different functions, what's going to be needed, and also helping you develop your value proposition so you can be successful in that process. As you move forward into the implementation of that, we're going to be offering you a lot of coaching and tools to develop networking skills, to become more successful at writing cover letters and resumes that will work for the industry that you're targeting. And more importantly, we're going to be helping you with the interviewing skills that are going to be applicable to the target that you're after. And that's done in conjunction with student organizations and specific coaching and one-on-one sessions. And in the tail end of that process, we're going to be helping you in the decision process, hopefully as you evaluate multiple options and you're trying to negotiate what you're looking to get out of that. And this sort of cycle repeats for what you do to prepare for an internship in the middle of the program, and what you do for the second half of the MBA as you're looking for the full-time job offer. Around this, there is a host of services, whether it's individualized coaching with people that are experts in their field, support groups. We have student groups that are led by second year students directing first years as they develop expertise in the industry and they stay on top of trends, interview coaching and preparation, networking with alumni, visiting companies. It's very robust. Uh, Related to the career placement, I'm not going to belabor this too much, but I do want to point out that we publish our career stats every year in our career page. So you're going to be able to find a book or a report that will have starting salaries, signing bonuses. Incidentally, by the way, our internship placement is roughly around 100% for our students that are seeking internships. This past year for this class, um, 9 students, for example, did not seek internships because they were pursuing their own business ideas into businesses. And here you can see I think the takeaway for this is that yes, there is a lot of opportunities for the main MBA funnels, if you will, whether it's consulting, finance, and technology. But one of the things that is unique about UCLA, Anderson, and our location is that our students have access to a whole host of other opportunities in other industries, whether it's healthcare, real estate, entertainment, impact, and a whole energy and a whole bunch of other spaces, right? And one of the things that makes that possible is our location and the diversity of opportunity where we are. In terms of where people go more specifically, you can see here companies, and we're listing some of the brand names that might catch your eye. The list is very much longer than this, but we do bring in sort of the best of the best, whether it's consulting and banking and technology and CPG and things like that. There are a number of companies that are national companies that are recruiting, as well as companies who are physically headquartered in Southern California, as well as a variety of smaller, medium stage companies that, whether they're entrepreneurial or relatively small in size, are also looking for MBA talent and recruiting in our program. So, moving ahead to this component of culture, uh, one of the things that you will find as you do research about UCLA Anderson, even if it's just superficial, is that culture is quite strong in our community. It's a very student driven campus with students that are really committed to being highly collaborative, to support one another. And that's sort of the hallmark or the defining characteristic of the student experience in the program. You're going to often hear students talk about the notions of sharing success, thinking fearlessly, and driving change. And more than a slogan, it really is a way to codify kind of how our students really think of this experience. You know, they're very committed to supporting one another, whether it's in career preparation, networking, just helping each other be successful through this journey. The idea of thinking fearlessly, it comes to this or to this con- uh, the idea is a mindset of pushing boundaries, of not settling for the status quo, and looking for ways of making improvements and finding innovation and opportunities to come up with new businesses and ideas. And this driving change relates to the very impact mindset that most of our students share, whether they want to work directly in this space or not. I think that there is a general consensus that you can use the tools of the MBA for the greater good, and you can be a positive contributor to society through some of the things that you're learning in this environment. So this is going to resonate with our students. Hopefully, it resonates with you, and this is something that it behooves you to be a little comfortable with as you understand kind of what this environment is going to be like. uh, as a way of sort of showing a little bit of this experience, or how it manifests itself. You can see here that we have over 40 student organizations that are organized around professional interest, identity, or interest. This is how our students come together to help each other achieve their professional goals, but find one another, reach out beyond their comfort zone, and connect with other folks in different areas, and really use this MBA experience to have a great time. As a further extension of that idea of connection with others, there's the connection with the larger UCLA campus. You know, we are the number one ranked public institution in terms of the volume of applications that we get, but also very large public institution in terms of the research that gets done and the number of academic centers and disciplines that are studied on campus. So, as a student in our community, all of this is accessible to you. The larger network of alumni is accessible to you, as well as all of the resources and the learning opportunities and the ability to take classes beyond the business school. So it's a really fantastic opportunity to be in this small business school environment with 300 fellow classmates, and then step next door into an environment that will have 50,000 people from all over the world committed to the same goals. And an extension of that idea of connection is really the connection to a larger setting. Los Angeles is a fantastic place in terms of developing internship opportunities, connect with future employers, business partners, learn about the latest industries and trends, and all of that is in our own backyard. You know, you're not going to be in a place where you have to hop on a train for 3 hours to have a chat with somebody who might give you, you know, a leg up on an opportunity. You have all of these connections that are fully accessible to you. And then rounding the corner, talking a little bit about the academics, without going to too many specifics. I think the hallmark of this component or this element of the experience is one that is about flexibility, but also the ability to customize a learning experience. So we offer 15 different areas that you can specialize in. We have 9 academic centers that are sort of hubs of research and partnership between private industry, academics, and students. So you have these places where you're going to be connecting with people. For example, if you are connected to our Eastern and Technology Center, there are going to be conferences that are put together. They're going to be visiting uh, executives that are going to be conducting presentations or co-teaching classes with our students. You could be part of a forecast center and participate in economic forecasting, or the real estate center and participate in competitions and compete against other schools. So there's wonderful opportunities in just about any area that you can imagine that are formalized and physically sit on campus, and you can be part of that. For those of you that are international, our MBA is STEM certified, which means that you have a longer period of time to work in the US as a student and benefit from a longer OPT period. And just a couple of more slides on the learning opportunities. We offer a capstone program at the end of the MBA, and that's a 6-month engagement where you're really active in practical learning. And that is either working as a consultant for a company within a team, launching a business with your team, or participating in a whole host of other options. And finally, the opportunity to participate in global travel opportunities as part of short courses that we offer, where our students get to travel around the world. So I know that I'm already at the 15-minute mark. I'm going to take just 2 seconds to cover a couple of basic points. I mentioned earlier that our class size is 300. You can read the class profile on our website, but the one thing that I did want to mention, because it's new and different this time around, we started last year actually accepting the executive assessment, which we didn't previously. We also accept the the GRE, the GMAT, the GMAT focus. And if students or prospective applicants choose to not to submit a test because they already have very strong academic and work experience in quantitative fields, you can write us a short statement where you make that case, and you are welcome to submit your application without it, right? So it's not like you need a waiver from us. You're sort of deciding on your own and submitting your application accordingly. And um, for those of you that might be actively thinking about applying, you need to remember that our round two deadline is January 6th, and our round three deadline is April 7th. After that, we begin this cycle once again uh, next year in October as our round one deadline for the following intake. So, oof, that was fast. I hope I didn't get you too dizzy. So we are going to jump into Q&A now with the help of my colleague Sabrina, and we're excited to help you guys out in whatever it is that you need MBA related.
All right. Thanks a lot, Adrian and Sabrina. I see Sabrina started I started answering some questions. So we'll start with another from Tanvi. Tanvi is asking, with the increase in the number of applications, what are the three key aspects to focus on to get an admit, especially for overrepresented international students? Secondly, can you talk about UCLA's marketing divisions? And lastly, what are the few mistakes to avoid? Yeah,
But
it's a
this doesn't
mouthful.
qualify. Yeah, this doesn't qualify as a question. This actually qualifies as three questions. So I'll just take this one, and then maybe Serena can pick the next one. And when we say one question, we mean one question because we want to help more of you. So in terms of the things that we're looking for, I guess one of the main things is we want to see a clear sense of purpose from our applicants, people that can articulate what their actual goals are in a fairly specific and tangible way. I want to go into this industry. This is the kind of role that I want to do, and this is why I think I'm going to be good at it. Um, then we want to bring people in that can display an interest in being team players and working successfully with others. And then we want to bring people in that can demonstrate that they have done a little bit of research to make sure that we are going to be the right match for them. So why don't I leave it like that? And then we'll be able to kind of cover a few more questions, and then we'll be able to come back. In terms of, I'll just address this last part. In terms of facing a growing international population, I wouldn't worry about the numbers of people that you are competing with, regardless of what population you're applying from. There's always going to be a room for candidates that can make a compelling case, and if you are strong, it doesn't matter where you're from. And that strength is not just necessarily having strong test scores, but it's a combination of what's your career path has been so far, where do you want to go next, what have you learned from the experiences that you have currently done professionally, and where do you want to take this to the next level.
Great. So Noel is asking, what advice would you have or would you give to older candidates on navigating the Anderson MBA application? Parentheses, 10 years of work experience and above.
Sabrina, do you want to take that, or are you typing away a response? If you are, I'll be happy to take it.
Uh, Sorry, I thought you were still answering
No,
the three
no worries.
questions.
I'll take this one, and you can take the next one
Oh,
if you want.
no.
So
Uh,
yeah, in
yeah.
terms of advice for candidates with 10 years of experience or more, we do see plenty of people that fall in that age bracket, and I think maybe more so in international populations. So it's not so much about being at the average of 4 or 5 years to be a competitive candidate. I think that average is there because most people will want to pursue an MBA after they already have accumulated some years of experience. I think the important thing for you is to say why this is the best time for you now. And everyone is going to have a different career path. For some, it could be that they have been working for a family business, for example, and it took this long for them to really have a shot at a leadership position, or they're being kind of appointed or selected for future leadership. For others, it could be other reasons. So, whichever number of years of experience that you have, one of the things that you want to do is be able to speak as to why this is the right time for you in your career, as opposed to spending a little bit more time, for example, developing your skills and preparing for the MBA. And hopefully, with more experience come more opportunities to be able to showcase some of the leadership experience that you have accumulated, and some of the additional insights that you may bring to the table as somebody who might be a little bit more knowledgeable about an industry given your longevity in it.
Great. So, question from Tanvi is, what are the classes like? Case-based, team-based, or lecture-based? And how is the community like?
So I know Adrian already touched upon our culture and community a little bit. So the classes, I know some schools are the entire curriculum is case based. That's not us. So we have a variety. It depends on the class. So if it's a strategy or consulting related class, it could be case based. But it really is. It depends on what the class is. And so there's a variety of different class format, but the faculty they try to make it as interactive as possible. And um, I think almost everything, if not all, of your study in the program and recruiting, there's a lot of team-based activity. You'll be on a career team and also on a learning team for your core classes. And then for so there's a our community is so this kind of transition to the community is highly collaborative, and from one of the slides, the value share success, the students resonate with that a lot, so they help each other. Second year help first year very much as well, so the community is very welcoming and embracing. So that's also one of the unique thing about our community is that it's really instead of competing with each other, it's more shared success and helping each other.
Great. So there's a question here from Aditya is asking, could you please clarify the deadline or threshold for submitting a GMAT score if it's taken after the application submission date?
So
Very good. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I thought I would take this too. So because you just took several. The application deadline by then you have to submit your self-reported. You can just submit your self-reported test score. And the official one, if you get an interview invite, the official scores needs to be there before your interview. Um, so like interview aside, so if you're just um I guess the question is if the you take the test after the deadline or
Yes.
there's no
So,
guarantee. Basically, there's no guarantee if you submit any like a self-reported score. If you don't have that, you submit that after the deadline. There's no guarantee that you'll be considered when the team reviews your application. Um, I in general I would say as soon as possible. I think if you submit your self-reported score within a week or so, you may be okay. Um, I'm giving my opinion, but again, the official answer is that there's no guarantee that you'll be considered because it depends on when your application is read. Adrian, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I was gonna expand on what you were saying, which is absolutely correct. So we have a number of readers that are reading every application, and not having the complete application and then getting pieces of information later on the process would force us to kind of go back to square one every time that that happens. So it makes the process of evaluation very complicated. Having said that, you can always email the admissions office to give them a heads up and say, hey, my deadline for the test, or I'm taking the test a few days after the deadline, I'm going to be submitting it. And well, Sabrina is correct. There is no guarantee. We will definitely do our best to accommodate you if it's reasonable, and circulate your application at the right time. The problem is that if it comes halfway through the cycle, it really might be impossible, right? So I would say just try to communicate with us to make sure that we're looped in. And worst case scenario, you could be told, hey, listen, how about if we just push you to the next round because this document arrived so late, we haven't had an opportunity to really have your application evaluated, but the next round begins in next many weeks, so we will just roll you over. So there are ways that we can work with you.
Great. So Yashod is asking, how does the Anderson career teams help the first year students with internships and jobs? And does it have separate divisions for each industry? And do we get assigned a mentor?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. I'm glad you're looking into that level of detail. So one of the host of things that are available to students when you start working with the Career Center are the Anderson career teams. And that's basically groups of people that are clustered together because of their industry interest. Second year students become the leaders of each of those groups. So they are kind of your mentor because, and they're selected because they have been successful in their career journey so far and can share some of their expertise. And those groups are designed really to help you understand kind of insider knowledge of those industries, whether it's understand industry trends, help you develop the skills to have conversations with those folks when the time comes for you to do either networking or internship, I'm sorry, interviews, and really to provide a sense of accountability and your built-in support network. In addition to that, there's a bunch of other things that are happening, whether it's your individual one-on-one time with career advisors, the career prep classes that are offered early on in the program to help you definitely understand what is going to be required of you to get there. So it's one of many pieces, but it's one that students speak very, very fondly as an opportunity to not just benefit personally as somebody being a part of those groups, but an opportunity to give back and share your knowledge and expertise with others as they are kind of following in the same footsteps.
Okay, great. So next question is, are there any student support groups to help with applications by any means?
So the student support are they vary. It's more from our student clubs. Um, I think what I can think of is more on event format, the student hosted events, virtual ones that uh, prospective students or applicants can join and ask questions. Um, we also we also have all the club leaders, their contact information, their LinkedIn and email on our website. So if there's any uh, industry specific question that someone can reach out to a professional club or a there's regional clubs. So for international students, they could reach out to by region um, the different student clubs. I believe they also on their own, the clubs on their own, they organize virtual events to help prospective students.
Yeah, and let me add to that a couple more things. So typically, the way that a prospect would navigate this process, aside from doing your own research and watching videos, going through our FAQs and reading our application requirements, people attend virtual information sessions or in-person sessions where we go in a lot of detail over what the school offers, but also what the application process is like. What are we looking for in people, the do's and don'ts, and all those things. Depending on the time of the year, you might also catch virtual Q&A sessions with admissions officers. And like Sabrina was saying, people in the clubs are constantly contacted by prospects that are probably a little bit more serious and more advanced in their search, so they can have a higher level discussion about, hey, I'm interested in pursuing X, Y, and Z. I'm curious to speak with somebody who's had a similar journey, or I'm interested in what opportunities have you found in this space or that space. The application process per se is relatively straightforward and simple. I don't think you're going to need help in going through the application process. I think it's more about maybe understanding some of the nuances in the process and getting better at kind of anticipating what's going to be needed of you. And then for many of you guys, as you're invited to interview in the admissions process, that's where candidates will reach out to students or to alumni or people in their network to do a little bit of prep work to make sure that that internship is something that they can navigate very successfully.
Great. So there is a question regarding, 1 second, I'm trying to pull it up. So there is a question regarding individuals with tech consulting backgrounds. So the person is asking how do you integrate or how are you integrating AI into the curriculum?
Oh, I'm actually just I'm typing for the set. So I just Adrian, you can ask. So
No, no,
I
no.
believe
I
we
mean,
we currently have three AI classes, and I'm going to send a link that so our prospective students can look at what exactly those classes are. But the faculty is and the school is keen on incorporating more. We had a AI summit earlier this year, and there's like other events that's AI related. So the AI summit comes to mind. So the rest are more like it's not part of the curriculum, but it's there are other opportunities that you can participate.
yeah, I think
Great.
that the main point for AI is that it is something that is happening in real time. So nobody's going to tell you, or shouldn't be able to tell you, that they figure out exactly what this is going to be doing and how it's going to be applied. But I think the important thing, Sabrina was saying, is being actively integrated in our curriculum, is being actively researched by faculty and clubs, and is something that we know is to be leveraged and to be learned how to use in a sort of ethical and moral way, but at the same time leveraging it for its potential in business. And we're all about that right now.
Great. So Saurav is asking, with the current geopolitical scenario playing out, is this the appropriate time to get an MBA?
Well, I left my crystal ball in the office yesterday, so I am not able to tell the future today. Listen, all I can tell you is that history is kind of a long game, and it tends to repeat itself. There are periods of uh, boom and bust. Things change, and no one knows exactly what the long-term picture is going to be like. But I would say that regardless of the outcome, I think you're always going to be better off if you are more uh, develop professionally, you have stronger leadership, you have stronger tools at your disposal to be successful. So my answer is positive in terms of whatever happens, whichever part of the world you're in, having more resources, tools, and connections and a global perspective is only going to help you. Uh, with whatever happens. And I have been at this business long enough that I have seen sort of periods of things that looked unprecedented only to see them repeat themselves within a 10-year span, right? So it's hard to predict the future, but maybe you can only predict that it's going to go up and down and then up and down again.
Great. So a couple of questions have been asked regarding the impact of test waivers on scholarships. So, I mean, kindly share some insights on that.
So the fellowships consideration, they are merit based and they are based on your overall application strength. So it's a combination of everything that you submit. It's not based on one element of your application. Um, so for people with a strong quant background, they are able to demonstrate evidence of your quant ability and skills. Um, so then you feel like you don't need another data point to show your quant ability. Then for that, that's the applicants who can submit without a test score. So then if you submit without test score, then your overall application strength is based on the rest of your application. So that's still many things that we take into consideration.
Yeah, that's very true, and a great point, right? So, uh, we're looking to reward the strongest applicants that we have in the pool. But having said that, everyone should know that, I think it was something like over 60% of the students that we admitted last year received fellowships, right? So it's a big chunk of the population that are getting different amounts. Um, However, if you're not submitting a test, also mirrors maybe underperforming grades in your undergraduate or lack of skills in some specific areas. you're depriving yourself of a data point that could have potentially helped you make a better impression, right? So for folks that are able to present a stronger test, it definitely behooves them to present any and all evidence that is going to make them stand out from the crowd to increase their chances. But people without test scores do get fellowships.
Great. So I think a couple of questions have also been asked by people who want to know if there are ways to get the language test waived. That's especially those who have completed undergrad in English.
If your undergrad was completed in English in an English speaking country like the US, Canada, Australia, or the UK, yes. If not, unfortunately, and this is not something that we like ourselves, but more something that we have to comply with because it's a University of California requirement, you would have to submit that test score. The good news is that this is not a test that many of you would have to study. We're not rewarding people that have the highest TOEFLs or IELTS. It's simply more of a binary. Is it good enough? Yes, no problem. Is it too low? Well, maybe there is a problem, right? So, uh, aside from the inconvenience of having to take it and maybe the expense of taking it, it should not add stress, I think, to the application process for those of you that are fluent or comfortable enough.
Okay. So there's a question about how much emphasis is placed on entrepreneurship outside the curriculum at UCLA.
Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if Serena was going to say something, but we just heard yesterday at our staff meeting a very cool stat that was just released. I think it might be part of Princeton Review's ranking of MBA programs. I'm not sure if I get the ranking institution correctly, but we were voted number two in the United States for entrepreneurship and number one in the West. So we're very proud of the additional accolade. And entrepreneurship is a big part of what we are and who we are as students. We have an incubator that develops a host of smaller business ideas that our students and members of our community have. There's a very active center for entrepreneurship, the Price Center. So if this is something that is of interest to you, my recommendation would be research what we're doing because we're doing a lot and there's a lot of potential and opportunity. And I think in large part driven by the fact that California is sort of very fertile ground for entrepreneurship. Silicon Beach and Silicon Valley are here. So lots of connections and resources as well.
Great. So there's a question here about I understand recruiters analyze how we have performed in our industry compared to our peers, but coming from a unique background, such as law enforcement, would you require more insight on my industry in order to complete an accurate assessment of my application?
So we have a wide variety of background in our applications and also in our student body. So there are some things that we look for from anybody with any background, such as leadership potential or any leadership experience. It doesn't have to be managing people, it could be managing project. And then teamwork skills. And if this person will thrive in a collaborative environment. And a lot of in our study, a lot of the program are you will be in teams. So and also for a professional background, no matter what industry or if it's family business or their own business, we look for if there's increased responsibilities, career progression, and if they so what you could help with if you think you're coming from a niche background is to uh, you can it's part of your argument for your short-term and long-term goals. So when you talk about why MBA and your post MBA goals, one one tip I would give is that I know there's a limited space, but try and uh, you should be able to make a case for yourself, talking about for this is your post MBA goals, and then do you have any relevant experience and transferable skills to as a good foundation, and then you're looking to gain XYZ from the MBA, which will help you achieve your post MBA goals.
Great. So I think we can take about two more questions. The first being the application fee waivers. So is there application fee waiver for individuals looking to apply to UCLA Anderson?
Unfortunately, no.
Very short and simple. All right, so there's a question regarding reapplicants. It says, how can reapplicants differentiate their profile? Does UCLA facilitate any feedback review process that helps to understand why there was a previous rejection?
I'll take that very quickly. So sometimes you'll see advertised at the end of the cycle that there will be a short window of time where we will provide some feedback, either written or in person or through Zoom. And so all we can tell you is maybe stay tuned to get an announcement of that feedback and how it's going to be done. In terms of what a reapplicant should do or recommendations for a reapplicant, um, the application does have specific prompts that will ask you what has changed since your last application. So if you're going to go through the trouble of submitting again, and by the way, we love reapplicants because we know that they're committed, they're showing their passion, they're showing their interest. But at the same time, we would like to see some objective self-assessment and how you have addressed what you felt were your shortcomings. Many times it will be, hey, my test score went from this to that. I am stronger now on my GRE, or I received a promotion and I got involved in a community project where I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Lastly, it might be, hey, when I first applied, I said I wanted to work in healthcare. I've gone through a little bit of a self-assessment process, and now I think what I want to do is healthcare consulting. It's a little bit more specific, and these are kind of the companies where I think I would be able to thrive. So it could be any combination of those things, or perhaps others. And I think everybody does know that if there's room for improvement on areas, you should try to improve all the areas that you can improve. So I don't think a particular coaching session will be that much of a revelation in terms of telling you the one area that could have been a little stronger. You should be looking at strengthening everything that you can as you're reapplying.
Great. So we've come to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much, Adrian and Sabrina. And thanks to all of the attendees who have attended this session. I mean, there are more sessions coming up. So if you check the charts, there's a designation for the official WhatsApp group for UCLA Anderson applicants. So please feel free to join that WhatsApp group to share ideas. And then if you have questions specific to your own profile, feel free to go on to GMAT Club to drop your questions in the decision tracker, and the in-house experts will be happy to share some insights and feedback into what you can do to make your application stronger. So thanks a lot, guys. It's been a pleasure having you, and thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
Likewise, thank you all of you for coming. Come visit our events page. We have a coaching webinar for round two applicants that is going to happen later this month. So stay tuned for that and visit our website.
Great, thank you. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.